Okay, based on the notes we discussed just now, the revision, this is a flower, and you will need to identify what kind of pollination it does based on the questions I'll be giving you later. So the components of the flower, as I said, okay, in the revision portion, this will be the petals. Okay, this will be the petals. Now the internal structure of it is the one that looks so feathery like this. This is also a form of petals that it designed, the flower designed itself, so that whatever vectors which is coming in will have to some or other touch the anther. Now if you are wondering which is the anther is the yellow portion here. Okay, now this flower is not fully bloomed yet, that is why the anther is not widespread and you can't see the pollen itself. Okay, so now this flower emanates a very fragrant scent. Okay, now also this is where the whole thing happens. You will see that the stigma and style is very fine, and all the way down here is you will find the sepal. Okay, the sepal is connected to the rest of the plant. What I've done next is I removed all the petals. Okay, I cut away the feathery portion, and what you can see here is you can see I cut through the anther as well. You can see the stigma and also the style running through the length. I will cut this even further, and you can see the internal structure of the stigma leading to the sepal down here. Okay, I've made an incision, and you can see these tiny straw like structures inside. You can see here one. This is actually the style. Okay, this is actually a style, and the pollen is so small it will travel throughout the whole length of this tiny little style, reaching towards the ovaries and also the ovule. Okay, just now I showed you the flower which is already bloomed but not yet fully bloomed yet, and now these are the flowers which are still in its buds. Okay, inside this bud is this whole green thing which is covering the bud. The whole flower is actually the sepal. The sepal will cover the whole structures, the male and female structure of the plant, and it will slowly shrink and sometimes wither and fall off. Okay, now the function of the sepal itself throughout the whole development of the flower is the sepal is going to protect the whole flower. Okay, this may be protection from the elements from outside or sometimes pests. So what the pest will do is the pest will eat out the outer part of the sepal first. Now since plant cells have cell walls, okay, cell walls, so this cell walls is actually very tough, thick, and actually very fibrous. So when it's against the elements, okay, when it's against the elements, you will see that the sepal itself is very resilient and it holds the very soft petals inside. This will protect the plant, and most importantly it has to protect the ovary and also the ovule. Okay, I have another type of flower here. This is actually insect pollinated as well because of the sheer size of the flower. Now this kind of bud is actually quite special because you will see that from each individual scales you'll have one flower coming out, one flower growing out. For example, like this, you see one flower is growing out from here. Okay, then another one from here, and if you're wondering where's the sepal is actually down here. Okay, it actually grows apart from the leaves. Okay, a portion from the leaf. It will protect the whole bud from the elements itself. Okay, now as the plants bloom, each individual flower will come out and bloom by itself. Now what I will do here is I will take out individual flower here, this individual flower, this one. I will dissect the flower and show you the parts, the petals, the filament, the sepal, and whatever not. And then I will dissect also this unbloomed bud here and show you how the flower, but the flower which is not bloomed yet, looks like. Okay, I have removed one of the individual flower. Almost immediately you can see is one of the flower has a very long style leading towards the plant inside here. So when each of these flower blooms, it can receive pollen and the chances of pollination will increase because of the number of flowers in this particular bud. I will now peel away the petals so you can have a better look. Okay, once the petals are peeled back, you can almost immediately see the underdeveloped anther. Okay, the underdeveloped anther, which is a part of this flower. Now what I will do even further is I will dissect the flower itself. Okay, I've peeled back some of the matured petals. Okay, and as you can see that the petals are actually quite fleshy here. Okay, it is actually, if you look at the tonicity part, this is actually very turgid because the flower was just watered, so the cells are filled with water. Okay, the plant cells inside here will have vacuoles, and these vacuoles are filled with water and pushes outwards. So when you push it outwards, the plants will look very, very fresh. Okay, after dissecting the petals, you can see these two structures here. These are actually the anthers. These anthers are not developed yet because, as you know, it is not bloomed yet. Okay, now once it blooms, once the flower blooms, the anther also will fluff up. It will be filled with pollen, and this pollen will be distributed by vectors. Now also absent here, okay, are the filaments. Okay, the filaments are not developed yet. So what I've done here is actually I dissected an unbloomed flower. So most of the components of the flower you'll see is undeveloped. Next, I am going to dissect this whole undeveloped bud. As I peel away the sepal, I can find structures like these. These are the underdeveloped flowers which I dissected just now. Those flowers just now was partially developed, so you can see that yellow structures, the anther and all that. So if I were to dissect this one, you can't even find the anther there. Okay, what I did was I made a cross section of the big bud. Okay, now as you see in the bud itself, the cross section of the bud, these are all in layers, and you will see that the structures here, the anther, okay, you can see the style growing here. Okay, and also some resemblance of the ovary, and also the ovules are very tiny, you can't see. So this whole thing here holds up the flower, the whole flower itself, and you'll see that this whole bud, just not the big bud that you saw, is made out of different layers. Each of these contains, just now the sepal side here, each of the scale layers, like I was telling you, contains one individual flower. Okay, this individual flower growth is as such is to increase the rate of pollination. Once it is fully pollinated, each of these buds, each of these flower, will fall off one by one. So this whole plant will be fertilized and will produce small fruits. Okay, now moving on, when you watch this video, I will want you to pay close attention to each step when I was explaining. Okay, because whatever you see in this video is going to be reflected in the worksheet that I will upload.